You were an opiate guy, weren't you?
Yeah, man. So I was doing perks, like, well, really it's like the Oxycontin, Oxycontin pills, hydrochloride. And like how I started with those was like, dude, it was like I cut my finger bad at work, right? And I don't know, like around that time, like town I grew up in Jersey was like flooded with them, bro. They were flooded. And dude, I knew guys that were getting them, and I started with like the RP5s. And dude, I remember I just worked my way, like within like a couple weeks, dude, I was doing like a 30 a day. Like I would like break it into pieces. And I was like selling weed at the time. So I just always had money. And like, dude, then I started getting multiple, you know what I mean? Like 60 milligrams, like doing that throughout the day, bro. And then like 90 milligrams, dude, it just progressed up and up and up and up and up,
Remember the days where one Roxy Blue used to get you high?
Dude, super high.
Right?
Super high, bro.
And it's like, and then I'm going to do 1.5, like a few weeks later. And then it's 2. And then before you know it, what were the most amount of pills you were doing in one day? This show is sponsored by Open Recovery Addiction Help. Whether you're newly sober, in long-term sobriety, or even maybe looking to make a change in your life, Open Recovery offers 24/7 support right from your phone. It's anonymous and packed with tools to help you stay connected, stay accountable, and build the life you deserve. Download the Open Recovery Addiction Help app today and take the next step in your recovery journey.
Oh, I think at one point, bro, like I remember, I think the most I did in one day was probably like 1030s in a day. I was like on some savage shit. I was doing like 2 at a time. Mm-hmm. Bro, it's just, dude, looking back on it, it's crazy that like I didn't like OD or something, but I just, dude, I did like 10 of them a day at one point. Yeah.
And were you paying $1 per milligram for them, or were you getting them cheaper?
$1 per milligram. $1 per milligram, bro. That's what I'm saying, bro. I was a savage. Dude. And like, you know what I mean? Like for me, right? Like, perks, that wasn't like, like the first thing I was a savage on, but it definitely was like the last, because like, dude, once I started doing them, like all the other drugs I was doing besides like drinking and smoking went right to the side, dude. I'm like, I like these, and, dude, like at first, man, like I said, man, it made me feel, actually the first time I did them, dude, like it's almost like I didn't feel it. And I was like, man, why do people even do these? These are stupid. But then I was like, you know what, it was like the next day I was like, let me just try these again. Let me just, see what these are all about. And I think I tried to like double the dose or whatever. And then I like smoked, while I was on them. And I was like, okay, well, this feels all right. And I remember like not too long after that, dude, I was like throwing up from doing them, because like, dude, I just couldn't, I don't know, my body just couldn't handle it yet. And at that time, dude, I was working as a cook, bro, like at this restaurant. And like it's funny. My father used to tell me, he's like, dude, nothing good happens after 12 o'clock, bro. And that's exactly when I used to get out of my shift. There was like a 5 to 12 shift, right? And I would go up to Philly to my boy's crib, and we would just sniff blow all night. That was the thing. But I was like, you know what? I got to get my perks before. So, I would, eat my perks while I'm at work. And I remember on the ride there, the first time I threw up from perks was in my car, bro. In my car. I was like, oh, it was horrible.
All over the floorboard?
Bro, all over everywhere, bro. It was like projectile. I was like on the highway, bro. I had to like pull over. I was like, I guess I'm not going to Philly tonight. Bro.
How good did you feel after throwing up though? Did that opiate high hit you? Because I had the same experience, and then once I threw up, it just, that opiate, that warm blanket just hit me, and that's when I got hooked on it.
Bro, that's what I'm saying. Yes, bro. Yes. And like, I felt that, like that warmth you were just talking about, right? And like it was like I was at the point where I was like, dude, I don't even want to go sniff blow, man. Like I'm chilling off this, dude. I'm gonna wash up. I think I went, so like near my house in Jersey, there's like this like 24-hour like self-serve car wash. So I went there and like, cleaned the inside of my car. It was like 1 at night. You know what I mean?
You hosed yourself down.
Hosed myself down. I was like, I feel so good.
On Oxys, yeah.
Bro, yeah, man. And like, bro, and that was all like the first month I started doing them, bro. Like, it's not even, as a thing, like, bro, like the stories I have from that and even like other drugs, dude, is just like, bro, that was just the first month of me doing it. I was buck wild. Anything I got my hands on, dude, I was buck wild, bro.
Yeah.
Like, I used to like, my thing with my thing was like for a hot minute, bro. Like when I was like real young, I think the first like hard drug I did was like Molly and ecstasy, right? And not too long after I started doing it, like I got like real cool with like these people at the club, dude, who are like selling it. And we used to pay off the security to sell it. And I remember the one time, bro, I sold it to a couple girls like outside. We were in the smoking section. And I remember I went to go pop a Molly and I was already like off a couple. And like, for me, like I always had a thing, like ever since I was a kid, I didn't like taking pills, right? They like make me gag when I take them.
Yeah.
So, when I started doing the perks, I was sniffing them, but the Mollies, I would just pop them. And I went to pop it and it's like hit the back of my throat the wrong way. And I like projectile vomited all over this chick's tits. It was just like straight water.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She was like, oh, it's okay.
She was cool with it. Wow.
She was cool, bro, because she was,
she liked you. Or she wanted Molly.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, dude, but like she was digging it. She was probably just high, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or like she didn't know what to do. I don't know.
Dude, I relate so much to as soon as I got introduced to ecstasy, for like a month straight, it was like clubs every day. Dude, we're doing this for the rest of my life.
Bro.
I want to feel like this for the rest of my fucking life. Let's go. We're going to the club every night. And then that would phase out. And it's like, all right, shrooms. All right, we're shrooming out every day, guys. All day. We're going to go to school on shrooms on Monday. It's going to be amazing. I always consistently drank and smoked weed. That never went away. But when I found opiates, I'm like you, I'm an opiate guy. When I found opiates, it was like, okay, I don't even want to waste a night's high or a day's high, or it became a morning, day, and night high on like shrooms or coke or any of that. It was just opiates. And then like fill in the betweens with drinking and smoking weed, Dude,
I relate to that 100%, bro. 100%. As soon as I found opiates, bro, like the rest of that shit went to the wayside. Like, so like for a while I was like, I got real heavy into the rave scene and I was like I used to do ketamine and shit. And once I started doing opiates, dude, something about it, man, like if you mix the opiates with ketamine, dude, like it like makes you like throw up, but like projectilely. And I just didn't like the way it made me feel, dude. So I was like, fuck that. Fuck those other drugs, dude. I'm just drinking and I'm doing perks, man, and smoking. That was just my thing, dude.
Did you ever go into a K-hole?
Oh, of course.
What was a K-hole like?
So like really it's like, some people describe it as something different than what it was for me, right? For me, it's like, dude, say I'm sitting in this room, right? For one, I can't move. You know what I mean? It's like, because what it is, dude, it's like a tranquilizer, it's like an anesthetic, right? So if I'm sitting in this room, dude, I'm like sitting in the corner, bro. It's just like visuals, really. It's almost like the whole like ceiling is moving, like there's just like waves coming down the wall. And dude, I just can't move, bro. Like then that's just what it is, dude. But it feels tremendous though, bro. It does. It feels tremendous. But you know what I mean? Like for me, that's tremendous, bro. That's just what it was, dude. And like, I don't know, like, I've been in K-holes multiple times, dude. Like, and like the problem is too, like, cause I was going to music festivals, right? The problem is you're in a K-hole and you're just like sitting there, like stuck, like on like a tapestry or something, sitting there just stuck. Bro, can't move. Someone could literally just take something out of your pocket. You can't do nothing about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Dude, I've seen it happen before.
It's crazy because so I went into a K-hole once and then I was like, I'm good on K. And it's crazy because me being an addict and like always going hard on everything, that freaked me the fuck out. Yeah. I was driving a car and I felt myself like things got very abnormal. I had done K before and it was abnormal what I was feeling. And I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, yo, you're going into a K-hole. Stop the car. Look, we're on like a highway. Dude. My friends are like, dude, stop the car, put on the blinkers. We'll get out. We'll remove you. Like, just don't drive. Stop. And then I stopped the car. They removed me and like let me wig out in the back a little bit. And then they just took over driving. But like, it's scary. Dude, it's alarming.
It is.
It's a tranquilizer.
That's what it is.
And it just fucking freezes you. It's crazy. So you're from New Jersey.
Yeah.
What part of New Jersey are you from?
Washington Township, down south from Gloucester County. So like originally my parents, so like the town I live in, man, really it was like that town that like everybody whose parents like did really good, you know, in Philly. That's where they moved. They made it out, you know, Philly. They moved over there. Actually, the town I'm from, they call it Little South Philly. It's because like a lot of Italians live over there. So like as you can imagine, dude, a lot of bakeries. You know, like my next door neighbor growing up, he owned a Versus Bakery, and dude, we used to get like fresh rolls. He would like give us like bags of fresh rolls and stuff like that. Cool. Yeah, it was. I mean, where I lived, dude, it was like really nice growing up, man. Like it just was
tight knit community.
Tight knit community, dude. I think my graduating class, dude, it was huge though, bro. It was like my graduating class was like, I want to say like 600 or 700 people. You know, a lot big. It was like, I think it's the biggest public school in South Jersey, that Washington Township High School, if I'm not mistaken.
So your high school had like 2,000 to 2,500 students.
Oh, easily.
It's a lot of people.
It is, bro. It is. There's still people that like, I don't know, like they pop up on Facebook from like high school or whatever that apparently I graduated with, but I just, dude, I couldn't. I'm like, it's like.
Sorry, I was in a K-Hall. I don't remember you.
I'm like, I don't remember, man. You know, it's just so many people, dude. And yeah, it was a nice community, man. And as a kid, I played football. I got involved in a lot of different sports. It was like football, wrestling, swimming, baseball, basketball. You know, played like lacrosse in middle school for a little bit. I always stayed involved in like extracurricular activities, you know, and sports and stuff like that. So like, you know, my parents, they raised me like really well. You know, I couldn't honestly, dude, like I really can't complain about like my childhood and how I grew up. You know, I was a spoiled kid and I got like whatever I wanted, you know, my mom provided, you know, my dad, you know, he drank growing up and stuff like, and it was cool to like to see when I was a kid, like he used to have parties and stuff. He used to have like a bar in the basement. And, you know, he drank, you know, I mean, for most of the days he would, you know, you see him like a cup of rum. And like, he's like, you know, my father's an immigrant, you know, he's originally from Haiti. So like that whole side of the family, like that's what they do. They're like hard drinkers, you know, they drink and they could party, dude. That's just what they do, you know? My mom, you know, just drank like, you know, a cup of wine a day or so, you know, but she's a really good woman, dude. Like, you know, and like now to see her as a grandmother, because my sister has kids now, it's just like, dude, it comes full circle again. And she's just like the cutest grandma. I'm like, wow, you know, it's amazing, dude.
That's cool. So you said you played sports. Did you have siblings as well? Yeah,
I have a sister and a brother. Yeah, I'm the youngest of 3, you know, all 4 years apart from each other. So my brother is 8 years older. My sister is 4 years older than me.
When you went into high school, was kind of the road paved for you already? Did people know who your siblings were, or did you kind of have to rediscover yourself in high school?
So like, yeah, it was like, you know, like I went to, you know, when I went to high school, there was like people in high school that knew my sister, you know, because she was pretty popular, dude. Like, you know, she was one of them girls that went to all the events and all that. Like, so like there was like girls that were older than me and guys that were older than me. Like, oh, you're Ashley's little brother. I'm like, yeah, you know. And then like, you know, I went and played football too. My brother played football in high school. So they're like, oh, you're George's little brother. So they, you know, they knew the last name, you know. I'm the only person in town with my last name.
For sure. What were you, an outside linebacker?
I was, yeah.
I can see it. Yeah. And you got LT earrings as well.
I do got the LTs.
Dude, those things
man.
are dope.
Thanks, man. I got a couple different colors too.
It's funny. I saw you in a meeting and rocking those. Like the first thing I said to you, I'm like, bro, Lawrence Taylor. I'm like, yes. We're like, yo, what up, bro?
Yeah, man. You know,
that's cool.
You know, it's pretty cool how that works, man. You know, it's like, dude. I meet so many different people now that I go to meetings and stuff. And it's like, you never know what, like, you know, people really do, you know, like, so it's like, and it's always cool to like hear other people's story, you know, like I love how you have the podcast, dude. And like, you know, I've tuned in before, man. And bro, it's like, dude, when I moved out of my hometown, man, it's like, dude, it's just a whole nother side of life, bro. So many different backgrounds, so many different occupations, so many different personalities, dude.
So for me, you know, in meetings and just like my everyday life, you know, addicts, alcoholics, non-addicts, non-alcoholics, just meeting someone. We live in Florida now. meeting someone else from the Northeast is awesome. It's just like, it really at home, you know, there's just that connection. Jersey, New York, we all have that same mindset, and we're a little nutty, you know, but like we just have that bond, and it's always good to meet someone, a fellow Northeasterner.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But so, okay. Yeah. Spoiler alert. You're in the rooms now. You're in meetings now, and you're sober now. So
yes.
Why don't you take us through, when did you start drinking and drugging where you, let's say, outside of just your weekend warrior of drinking and smoking weed, when things started to kind of, you know, go outside of that let's just call it like a normal high school kid drinking and drugging.
Yeah. So like for me, like how it kind of like went outside of that, dude. So like I said, I played football and I was like pretty good too, dude. Like, and like, I used to go like these football camps, and like I went to like a combine and like made it to the ultimate 100 like in the region. And you know, like my whole dream was to like, oh, I'm gonna go to college and play football. That was just, you know, that was my dream. I really didn't get good enough grades to do it, but like in my head it sounded cool, you know. So like, yeah, like I actually got hurt my senior year. I think it was like maybe like the third game of the season or so. I tore my MCL, and it was like right after the season, dude. It was like, man, it was like that depression, dude. It just kind of, it hit me, man. And I don't know. It was like already at a point in time too that like I was kind of like drinking already to like, you know, suppress feelings and stuff like that. But that's like when it kind of, you know, went into like a full cycle of addiction type of thing where I was doing it like every day, you know, like, you know, before school every morning, I would meet my buddy. He lived the street from me. He sold weed and shit. And like a lot of my friends, like, dude, like all my friends, you know, that I was close with, they all started selling weed and shit when I was in high school. So I would hang around them and like I would smoke for free. So I would smoke before school. And, you know, then it really started like with the Molly and shit, like going to the club and stuff like that. And I remember at the time, dude, I had like this girlfriend, like high school sweetheart.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be together forever, baby.
Be together forever. She like said something to me about it. And I was like, nah, like I'm good. Like, you know, I don't need to hear none of that. Right?
About like your partying.
Yeah, about my
she confronted you about your party. Okay.
About like, because like she always like, here's the thing, like we always used to go to like a party every weekend and drink and stuff like that. But she could already like see that like, you know, it was beyond just drinking for me, right? Like I was like picking up drugs and doing this, that, and the third, and like my behavior patterns. Like she was able to like see like through my bullshit, right? And she had like called me out on it, and I'm like, nah, like I'm good, don't worry about it. And you know, but still like from there it was just like experimentation, like in high school and stuff like that. And I think it really actually did kick off probably like right after I graduated. And like right after I graduated, dude, it was like, bro, I remember, I shouldn't even say this on the podcast. I remember it was like the day after I graduated, man. And like, I remember I was at my buddy's house. I don't know, I guess his parents like got divorced or whatever. And his dad like lived in Philly, and like, he just like had the house, dude. He just had like a crib to himself. He was like 18, just graduated. And, you know, like we had blow, dude. And I remember thinking before I took that first, you know, line of blow, I was like, you know what, man? Like, this is probably exactly what they didn't want us doing after graduation. But fucking, let me just try it anyways, you know? And yeah, like from there, dude, that whole summer was like club every weekend. You know, then I started experimenting with like, you know, the Xanax bars and stuff like that. And that was like my first like drug that I really like kind of got hooked on, dude. Like everyone around me at that time got hooked on. Like that was like, maybe like 2014, people were just like eating Xannies like animals, you know? And it was like Xanax, Molly. I really wasn't doing the coke like that at that point in time, but I think around like that winter, going from 2014 to 2015, my winter break of community college, I always say it was really white winter that winter because, dude, it was like the cocaine Olympics at my buddy's house. It was the cocaine Olympics, son. And dude, we were just like taking blasts, like, you know, just boom, boom, boom all night long, drinking like fish. And yeah, man, like that definitely expedited it, man. And I was still with that chick at that point in time too. And I forget what I did, bro. I did something like on like my on my Snapchat or whatever, and I was just trying to like see if I had shit in my nose, and I accidentally sent it to her, dude. And it was just like, bro,
no, you send it to your girl.
I sent it to my girl.
And did she know you were doing blow like during that time period?
Ah, man, I don't even.
Maybe.
I think so. Yeah,
that's a hard no.
Yeah,
she doesn't know.
Yeah, I think she did, bro. But like, I really wasn't, because like, dude, she would ask me so many questions, right? And like, I might have like tried to hide it from her, but like at that point in time, she already knew what was good, you know?
Yeah.
Because she like, that's the thing, like, you know, my dad always told me this growing up, right? You know, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, right? Or else, you know, it kind of tells me who you are, right? So everyone around me was doing it. What makes me special? What makes me special? You know, I'm not, you know, I'm not the saint. Oh, I'm just a saint hanging with sinners. Like, no, I was a savage too. You know, I just tried to hide it and do it behind her back and all, you know, even like I tried to hide that I smoked from her for a long time. She's like, dude, I know you smoke cigarettes. My mom smokes cigarettes. I smell cigarettes on you.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah,
dude. Yeah.
Now,
so
when she is confronting you and making, I'm assuming, comments here and there about your drug use, do you have it in the back of your head like, maybe I may have a problem, or no? Were you just like, no, I could pull it together. I'm better than this.
Yeah.
This is just the phase I'm going through.
Dude, exactly, bro. And that's where my head was at too at that point in time. And I was like, oh, it's just a phase. And really, it was almost like, dude, like the first thought that came to my head is, oh, how could you disrespect me like that?
Denial.
Right.
Yeah.
How could you think that can be me, or that I'm a drug addict? I can put it down whenever I want. I just don't want to. I'm just having fun, you know, just hanging out with the boys. You know, this is what we do. We're not addicts, you know, that type of thing like that. You know, at that point in time, dude, I did not see that I had a problem. I didn't know I had a problem. I knew I liked to, you know, party and like do drugs and stuff. But like, I was young, man. Like, I just thought like that's what we did, you know? Like,
of course.
That's just what, you know.
What are you doing for work at this time, right when you graduate high school?
Dude, I used to be a lifeguard, bro.
Nice.
I used to be a lifeguard, yeah. And I used to love it too, dude, because like, I'm a type of dude, man, especially when I was younger, man. I used to love attention from ladies, dude. I didn't care who it was, bro. And like at that point in time, I was like lifting a bunch. Dude, the old ladies, dude, they would love me, bro. They would come and like talk with me, have a conversation with me. Dude, I remember I met some crazy people doing that. Dude, I met this psychic, bro, who, weirdest thing, bro. It was like, dude, I get chills just fucking talking about it, dude. I got fucking goosebumps right now. So this lady, right, she came up to me and she was like, wow, like, you know, she was like a psychic, right? She was like, I feel an energy, like, you know, wants me to get your attention and talk to you. I'm like, oh, okay. And it was like, it's a butterfly and, you know, lavender and Philadelphia. I'm like, whoa. So at the first thing came to my mind was like my grandmother. I was like, my grandmother? Like, yes, it's your grandmother. And I don't know, she like pulled out these like tarot cards or whatever. And I think the numbers were like 9 and like
6. No, I'm just kidding.
9 and like 2 or some shit like that, dude. And it was like, bro, and she was like, be careful. Watch who you hang out with. He was like, do you have a girlfriend? And I was like, yeah. She was like, she was like, is there infidelity there? I was like, no. She was like, oh. She like looked at me and like, I was like, okay, what's going on here? So like, dude, like everything that lady said was true. Like, you know, she was just like the sweetest lady. And like, dude, like she helped me out a lot. So like, the numbers that she pulled, it was like 9 and 2, right? So that 9 and 2, I got hit by a drunk driver when I was 18. This was like, so when she talked to me, it was like maybe like July or so. So I got hit by that drunk driver on September 2nd at 9 o'clock. I was like,
wait, can you walk us through getting hit by a drunk driver?
Dude, yes.
What happened?
Dude, crazy story. So like, you know, like I said, I was a spoiled kid, right? My grandmother, she like, I don't know, she put a bunch of money into this like high interest, like a mutual fund or whatever. So like when I turned 18, I got like a lump sum of money. And I think it was like 25 G's or something like that. And, you know, the first thing I did was buy a car. So like I bought a car, like maybe like right at the end of August or whatever. Cause like it, you know, it hit when I turned 18 and my birthday's in August. I had that car for like 2 nights. And the second night I had the car, dude, I'm just driving have like two of my buddies with me, you know, driving. I think we just went to the store or whatever. And dude, it was like, bro, craziest thing, man. So I'm looking up the road and it was like, dude, I had just like, so I had my license for like a year, but I didn't have a car. So I didn't really drive like that. And like when I seen it, it almost looked like it wasn't real, dude. So like I thought they were like playing games or something. All I see is like the top of this hill. Cause like where I'm driving, it's like a bend and then it kind of like goes up. So you could like see straight back to like top of the hill. I see this car like coming down the hill, boom, like come over, come down. And it starts like swerving in and out, like going around people. And I'm like, dude, what is this? I'm like, yo, this is like crazy. I never
Guy's driving like a savage.
Yeah, I never seen some shit like this before. And it's kept going in and out, in and out. And then like it goes right in front of the person in front of me and they like veer off the road, boom. And then it's like me and them head on. So I swerve back into the lane that they're supposed to be in because everyone else pulled over. They're like, holy shit, like what's going on?
Now you're in oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
And he's in your lane.
Yeah. And it follows me, boom. And I'm like, what the fuck? I go back to my lane, follows me again. And I just keep trying to, you know, like what's going on here? And then finally I get back into my lane, right in the back driver's side. Dude, fucking whole car like does like a 360, wheel flies off. And then they keep going after and like run into a fence. Oh, you're scared, blah, right into a fence. Yeah. And then, dude, it was like, a crazy part about it too is like, it was like not even like, it was like as soon as I got out the car, like it was like a cop pulled up, whoop, whoop. And it was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I tried to catch them. Like they're drunk, you know? So apparently what had happened was this lady was like sitting outside of, so in Jersey, we got ShopRite. It's kind of like a Publix down here. She was sitting outside of the ShopRite liquors and she was like, I don't know, pounding bottles of wine or whatever. And someone had seen her like with like a bunch of like bottles of wine like next to her car. And she was like slumped in the car. And they went to go knock on the window and like she got startled and just gunned it down the street. And coincidentally, at the same time, I was coming up the same road and, you know, she had flew down and, you know, was so drunk that she was swerving in and out of traffic and, yeah, ended up hitting me.
It was a drunk old lady.
I think she was like probably like in like her 30s or 40s.
Oh, okay.
I never like seen her or anything. Like I had like the police report and the discovery and all that shit. So like, all that, I only figured that out from reading the police report.
Oh my God.
Dude. And I was like just turned 18, just got my first car, second night, bam. I was like, yo.
It was the lady with the tarot cards. She was going crazy. Yeah. She was trying to make the fate happen.
Dude, that's the thing, dude. That's why I don't mess with them psychics no more, dude, because it's like, if something was to happen, dude, I'd rather just not know, man. And it was like, and I remember like, I that completely went out of my mind, bro. And then like, dude, I remember just one day it just all came to me. I'm like, boom. I'm like, yo, everything that lady said was true. And it was like, watch out who your friends are too. Cause like, at the same time, I started hanging out with these people that just weren't good people. People around me were getting arrested. You know, all these things. I would put myself in a lot of bad situations, dude. And, you know, it's just, you know, I'm still here. You know, it's just, you know, I know, you know, friends that died and, you know, like, but hey, man, God, you know, got other plans for me, dude.
It's crazy. I experienced a lot of those things as well.
Man.
Like people around you start dying after high school from drugs, from overdoses, from car accidents and involving alcohol. And you think it won't happen to you. And then small things start happening to you. You kind of briefly walked us through the first time you did opiates and you threw up in your car. At what age did you start? When was that? And when did you start dabbling with opiate pills, oxys, and kind of walk us through the trajectory of that usage?
Yeah. So, I was about like 20 years old. And really like what had happened, like I was saying earlier was, you know, I cut my finger at work. It was actually weird. It was like a series of like events that like kind of led on to it. Like, so like a couple months earlier, like I was like really bad on benzos and I kind of just like detoxed myself off of them. And so I really wasn't, you know, messing with no pills at that point in time.
Hold on 1 second before you continue. For the viewers and listeners, I do want to say you said it was Xanax that you self-detox? Okay,
Yeah.
So viewers and listeners, be very careful. If you are on Xanax or barbiturates or anything like that, detoxing yourself, you could die. And I just want to make that known for people. It's not recommended to self detox. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, dude, terrible detox. Horrible. Every part about it sucked, man. But you know, and then like I really wasn't messing with the pills after that. Just drinking, smoking, still like, you know, doing shrooms and stuff. And so I cut my finger at work. My grandfather, who like, dude, I admired him growing up. He had passed away. And it was weird. I came to this realization like my childhood was over, dude. And I will always use some type of, you know, drug to like, you know, escape things. And that was just like what was like readily available, plus the finger pain, the mental pain. And that's like, that was my whole thought process when I first picked up, you know, doing pills. And yeah, man, it was just, like I said, it all started with like, you know, like a 5 RP, dude. And not too long after that, dude, it was like 15s, you know, M-Box 15s, then like 30s. And, you know, I was hanging around like this guy that, it's funny, dude. It was like, you know, like these people that you meet like in your childhood, right? Then you meet them when you're older. And you're like, holy shit. So this guy I was hanging around with, dude, funny story. So growing up in Jersey, man, we always just go to like Wildwood, like for Memorial Day weekend. And we were just some punk ass kids, man. Like that show Jersey Shore was like popular then and shit. And we were just like punk ass kids. And we were like talking shit. Dude, this guy was like grown ass man. He was like probably all fucking roided up, like jacked as shit, like walking with his girl. And we're sitting there like talking shit to him and, you know, throwing stuff. And then he turns around and was like, what, bro, what? And we're just like 15. He's like trying to fight us. And like, then like this, you know, our buddy Steve, he pulls up and he's like, yo, like leave them alone. They're just young bucks. They don't want no problems, dude. You know, and like he kind of saved us from getting our ass whooped. And it was like years later, man, I started hanging around with him, dude. And like, he was able to like readily get them. He was doing pills then, and he was able to readily get them. So I would hang out with him all the time, and we would take trips up to Camden and cop them. It's funny, dude. Like he could speak Spanish and shit, and we would get them from like the bodegas. Like I don't know the
bodegas were selling Roxy Blues,
bro. The bodegas in Camden were selling 30s. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, they were, dude.
What was it like going into Camden,
dude? It was it's so weird, man. And I always explain it like this, man. Like part of my childhood, I grew up in Philadelphia, right? And dude, I always feel more comfortable in Philly than I do in Camden. And like, dude, Camden is like, it's like a third world country, dude. It's almost like their whole economy there, man. It's like food stamps and selling drugs, dude. I mean, that's just what it is, dude. It just looks like a bomb went off. There's whole blocks of houses that are just boarded up. You know, you see like homeless people as soon as you get off to exit. You know, it's like weeds and stuff growing out of every piece of sidewalk you see there, man. The streets aren't taken care of. Super sketchy, man. Super sketchy. But at that time, dude, like, you know, I was copping weed out in Camden. I was like, I don't know, like 18, 19, dude. So like I already was accustomed to like going there. You know, it was just like when we started, you know, copping the pills, it was like a different part. And I'm like, oh, this is a little more sketchier. Like, you know?
Yeah. You go deeper into Camden for the pills.
I'm like, whoa, this is kind of sketchy, man. But yeah, we would cop them from over there, dude. And there was a couple spots, you know, we would go to, you know. But that's like when I first really got into it. And I was like in trade school at that time, you know. That's when I started like really my electrical career. Because I was in and out of community college, dude. I just, you know, no matter what, you know, I really wasn't trying to be there, dude. It was like, I never did good in school, regardless, but like, it was almost like I had no passion, no drive because the whole football thing. I'm like, dude, I don't deserve to be here. I deserve to be somewhere else, but I wasn't willing to do nothing about it.
You were angry.
Yeah, I was angry, bitter, dude. Just bitter at the world, you know,
going through the motions, trying to find a career.
Yeah, trying to figure something out, man. But I knew that like, and at that time I was working in a kitchen at like this bar, and I knew like that just wasn't it, man. I seen the older guys there, and they were like fucking miserable, dude. And I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to be the miserable old dude who's still selling weed and working as a cook, man. I'm just not trying to do that.
Yeah,
you know. So I started going to trade school, you know, and I think the first time I actually tried to quit the perks, and this was like maybe like a month or two late, maybe like a month later, dude. Like I tried to quit when I was in trade school, and you know, after a month of doing them, and dude, that physical withdrawal was insane. Dude. Like,
what was it like, a withdrawal from opiates?
Dude, it was like, bro, the worst lower back pain you can imagine. And like, it was almost like having like a flu or a fever, you know, like the cold sweats, the legs, you know, they I couldn't stand up for like too long. My legs would hurt. I didn't even want to walk, dude. It was like, bro, literally like pissing out my asshole. Like, dude, I couldn't even like take a solid shit, bro. It was like pissing out my asshole, you know, terrible headache, bro. Like even my vision was like blurred, dude, everything. You could have just pushed me over. That's what it felt like. Like I felt so weak, you know, like just the thoughts that went through my head, man, just like so much anxiety, just obsessing over like, you know, when can I get pills again? It was, dude, horrible, bro. Horrible, man. And I realized, because I remember telling my friend, oh man, I'm sick or whatever. And they were like, yeah, you dope sick. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm dope sick? He's like, dude, this is the first time you tried to stop doing them pills? And I was like, yeah. He's like, that's what happens, dude. And I was like, so you tell me if I, you know, keep doing the pills, it'll stop? They're like, yes, Tyler. So, you know, it was just a back and forth battle at that time, dude, to just, you know, try to stop. But like, dude, I had no willpower, dude. And I always heard stories about it because like people were doing opiates in the town I'm from since I could remember, man. Like that was the thing. I used to know kids in high school that were coming down to Florida for rehab and stuff, you know? So like, I always heard like it's a really bad withdrawal. You know, it's almost the same thing as heroin. Like,
it's heroin in a pill.
Heroin in a pill, dude. And I remember thinking, man, and then that was the thing too, dude. Like, dude, I used to think, man, I had so much willpower, bro. Looking at a pill that's like, I don't like smaller than like this small, right? You can never think that it could, you know, control your whole life, control your whole thoughts and actions, but it just did. You know, it just did, bro. Something this little, bro. And it was just a fight back and forth to stop, dude. I didn't have the willpower to. You know?
So my justification for so long when I did Oxys was it's a pill. I'm not doing heroin. It's heroin in a pill is what I'm doing. It's just a different way of using it. And I would justify it. I'm like, well, they prescribe these to people. So how bad could I really be? I'm not that bad. And I would continue. I would just justify my usage and continue to use. So you eventually get sober. Can you take us through the last year of using and how you ended up down here in Florida?
Yeah, man. So the last year of using, so I'll start like this because so what had happened was I went away for the first time to a rehab. It was in like Devon, PA. And, you know, it got so bad that I was like, you know, I'm going to check myself into rehab. And, you know, they were telling me to do all these things and, you know, when I get out, like go to a 12-step meeting and, you know, do all these things, which I really wasn't willing to do, but I knew I had to. And at the time I was dating this girl who I was dating probably for like 3 years at the time. And, you know, I think really like my whole mindset was like, let me get sober for her, you know? And, you know, I went to some 12-step meetings, you know, after that rehab, maybe stayed clean for like 90 days or so. And, dude, I was white knuckling it, man. I didn't do nothing to, you know, actually change. And I remember that whole time I just wanted my old life back. Right. And, I didn't realize at the time, but my old life is what got me to that point. Right. So I wasn't really trying to change something. I still wanted to smoke. I still wanted to drink. And that eventually led back to, you know, doing pills again. And then that point in time too, I think that last year was probably the worst I got with the drinking. I was drinking every day, dude. I mean, I used to go to this bar every day at work, you know, a bunch of us guys, and we would go and drink. And it was cool. It was like one of them bars where it's like, you ever see It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Of
course.
Dude, if that bar was like a real place, which actually it is, if you guys didn't know, and I've been there before too. And the bar is actually like the one I'm talking about. It's like one of them bars is cash only. They don't serve any food. And you could like smoke cigarettes in there. And we would go there every day at lunch, you know, and I would, you know, drink after work, you know, and do pills. And, you know, I was dating that girl for like 3 or 4 years at the time. And, dude, she just, you know, then, you know, she was done with, you know, with hearing my shit. Like, I'm going to get clean. I'm going to do this. A lot of false promises, man. And, yeah, I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't physically stop. And like, where I was at, man. It was like, dude, I remember it was like every time I'd say I was gonna get clean, I would delete my, my dealer's number. But I remembered her number, dude. Like, and mind you, dude, I used to get pills from like a couple, like, I had like a whole like handful of like old ladies who like, I guess they just didn't take their prescription of pills besides when they're about to go to the doctor. So they see that it's in their system or whatever. And I would like pretty much buy them out of their scripts, dude, every month. And yeah, man, then that went on for that last year. And, the girl ended up leaving me, dude. Even like my boss was saying shit to me like, dude, you're using again. Like, what's going on?
Are you an electrician at this time?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a union job and
non-union.
Okay, you're an electrician. Yeah. And this is your career.
Yeah.
And now your career's on the line.
Yeah.
Because of your drinking and drugging.
Yes,
and
dude.
Really quick, I want to go back for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
You had said you got out of your treatment facility. You started going to 12-step meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And then after 90 days-ish, you end up going back to pills and whatnot.
Yeah.
What was it? Were you not taking all the suggestions? Did you not fully turn your will over?
I didn't do nothing. I wouldn't turn none of that over, man. I'm telling you. Only 12 steps I did was inside the room and then outside the room, dude. Favorite sign in there was the exit sign, dude. I was not trying to do that's the thing. Like, I just thought showing up would be enough.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, dude, because at that point in time, I didn't change nothing about me, dude. I didn't, and I still obsessed over drinking, smoking, It was like, I'm telling you, it was like every day that I didn't do something about like my recovery for my sobriety, right? It was like, the thought of drinking and drugging is more and more and more. And it was like, when I got out of that treatment center, they gave me a prescription of, what's that shit called? It was like,
Tramadol?
Nah, it's like an opiate blocker. So you know how they give you like a Vivitrol shot? Yeah, I had like that in pill version. And, I started going to this IOP program too. And I think that lasted for like a month or two. And then, I wanted to smoke again, dude. I just was like, you know what? I can handle it. This time's going to be different. And you know what? This time, it was different. It was different this time. You know why? Because it was worse. It ended up getting worse, dude. And it was like all them lessons that, people just tried teaching you in those 12-step rooms, right? Where it was like, I'd hear them share stuff. And I was like, that ain't me yet. That ain't me yet. Well, like all those yets started to turn to agains. All those yets started to turn to agains. It was like all these things they told me to do, man. I didn't want to take no suggestions, man. And like I said earlier, it was like my old way of thinking, my old life is what brought me to that, man. Back to that drink, back to that drug. And for me, it always starts with like drinking and smoking, dude, and like ends up with something else, man. Yeah, man. So I never, didn't get no sponsor or none of that. I did have a home group for a little bit, but that just wasn't enough for like somebody that's like me, dude. Like,
no,
you don't talk about like a real alcoholic or addict, dude. Like, I need like really like some extensive work with, and really like I didn't try to enlarge in my spiritual life. I didn't try to do anything, man. Really, what I tried to do, which I thought was going to be enough, was I didn't try to do the 12 steps. You know what I tried to do? 12 reps. 12 reps. I was like, maybe if I just get my body right, man. Like,
you weren't working on yourself internally.
Yeah, internally. Maybe if I could just look good externally, the thought of drinking and drugging,
you'll override the addiction.
Override it.
Yeah, I get it, man. I've been there.
That was my dude. That was my thinking, man. Like that's just what it was, man. And just, dude, it didn't work.
But that's understandable for you. Like, I get it. Because if you've never experienced it, I would go into meetings when I first tried to get sober, and I would go in there and I would be like, okay, like I'm here, blah, blah, blah. And then people would start sharing and I'd be like, well, I'm not as bad as him. Yeah. This dude over here just lost, his wife left him. Like, I'm not at that point. I'm not even married yet. Like this guy, and I would just differentiate myself from every single person as opposed to humbling myself and relating to, and I'm no different than anyone else in the room. I thought I was better then.
Dude, same. Bro.
And that was not the case. Walk us through the last month before you ultimately get clean and sober.
Dude, the last month, dude, that was a Dude, that's a month that I will never forget, bro. That was a vicious month, man. So at that point in time,
you're in Jersey?
I'm in Jersey. Yeah, I'm in Jersey. You know, the girlfriend leaves me. She's like, you know what, Tyler, like I'm done with your shit, you know, sitting there lying, dude. She went through my phone. You know, at the point, you know, at the end of my run, dude, I was just super sloppy with it, man. I wasn't even trying to delete text messages anymore. I wasn't trying to block. No, I just, you know, I was getting sloppy, dude. I was getting all fucked up.
You didn't care?
I didn't care, dude. I just didn't. And I thought she'd never leave me. You know, I thought that, you know, all those times where she said and she came back, I was like, it's going to be like how it was last time. I'm not worried about it. But she ends up leaving me. You know, I'm like super depressed, dude. Like, you know, 4-year relationship. I don't know how to be on my own. I became codependent on her. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know how to be on my own. Mm-hmm. I didn't know because I didn't love myself. So, you know, it felt weird someone not, you know, showing me love. I needed that, you know, to feel me because I didn't love myself. Yeah, man, it was like that last month, dude, it was just vicious. You know, it got even worse once she left. And, you know, it came to the point, dude, where like I wanted to take my own life, man. I was thinking about jumping off the Ben Franklin Bridge, dude. And I had no health insurance, so I was calling these state-run facilities. And after like a week or so, I was actually able to get into one. This girl actually helped me get into that facility. She actually she passed away like that summer I got clean, unfortunately. But her mom worked for like the State Department or whatever. And I went into that facility, man. And dude, it was a humbling experience, man. Doors locked behind you. There was no TVs in the room. You pretty much sleep on like a jail cot, you know, all dudes there, you know, the only there was like, dude, you didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, man. It was bad. And, dude, it humbled me. You had to, you know, the staff didn't clean. You had to clean, you know, once a week or whatever, and they would inspect it. And dude, it was like exactly what I needed. And luckily, like right before then, I knew this priest that I met at one of my buddy's funerals who had passed from addiction. And I had his number, and he had flew me down here, man. You know, he flew me down to Florida. He runs a sober living house in Riviera.
So you move into a sober living facility down here in Florida.
Yeah.
You're now in the free world. You're not locked in a treatment facility. Mm-hmm. What was it like transitioning back to life, and what kept you sober?
So, you know, I mean, for me at least, dude, like what kept me sober was like, I went through so much. It was like the first time I actually wanted to get sober for myself, dude. I went through so much pain, dude, that it was like, hey, man, everything else, you know, I tried just didn't work. You know, maybe I'll try to do the sober living thing, and like maybe I'll try this whole AA thing. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Maybe I'll like fuck around and get my life together. And like a lot of guys around me, dude, like that was a good thing too. Seeing some guys around me who had like clean time, and like it's kind of like seeing what they did, man. I kind of just wanted to like, you know, be like them, dude. I couldn't imagine like having like 6 months or a year. I couldn't imagine none of that, dude. And you know, I was just, that's the thing too. Like, it's not like I was in Jersey and I can go run back to my mom's house or anything. Like, I just didn't want to be out here on the streets, dude. I was totally just like beaten down, dude, where it was like, you know what? I just took suggestions, man. I was just like, you know what? Let me just try this thing out, you know? And really that's what kept me sober in the beginning, dude, because like, hey, man, I mean, I did have a relationship with God too, man. I remember one of my buddies telling me, yo, pray, man, pray. That's something that's going to help you get through. So I prayed, and I was going to the gym and, you know, talking with other guys in sobriety. Then, you know, eventually when I got down here, you know, I started going to 12-step meetings, and dude, met, you know, a whole slew of people who were just there that helped me. And like where I come from, dude, like, you know, people like aren't that nice, dude. They always want something from you. So I'm like, these guys over here, like, you know, being all giddy, like, let me, you know, what do you want from me? You know, at first I was really closed off. I really was. But I kind of just like stuck around, and, you know, just I examined. I'm a big examiner type of guy, man. Like, I stick around for a while and I just see like how everything is going. Then, you know, I was like, you know what? Now I'm comfortable. It took me a long time to open up and trust another guy to like, you know, guide me through this process, and, you know, eventually end up getting a sponsor like a, month in or so. And, you know, that sponsor didn't work out, But as soon as, me and him didn't work out, another guy came into my life, dude, just like that, man. And it's, God just blessed me with that, man. It was like, dude, I can't even explain it, how the things just work out, dude.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, now it's like, dude, God is just he showed up in all these different parts of my life, man. And it's so crazy how, like, I couldn't see it, dude, until I got sober.
So one of the biggest fears that I had when I got sober was the party's over. Dude. I can't fathom a life without drinking and drugging, because drinking and drugging equated to happiness. Like, I'm not going to have that. And it's like life on life's terms, my emotions, dealing with life. Like, that's not fun.
Not at all.
When did you get to a point where you started to feel happy inside, clean and sober?
That is a very good question, dude. I mean, I've had spurts where I was like, wow, I'm happy, but that was like kind of like externally. And then I was like, I really want to say, so I got sober in May. I think by like somewhere around November, December, I was like happy. It was like, I think I was around like the 6-month mark or so. I was just happy, dude. Like, because at first, man, it was like the party's over, and like I would see, especially because getting sober in the summertime sucks too, because you see all the people Snapchat, drinking at the beach and stuff, going to concert. And I'm like, yeah, I'm over here stuck in sober living, and I was just miserable, but I just tried to like make the best out of it. But I want to say the happiest I was, when I first started getting happy sober is when I went back to Jersey. I think that was like in November of 2023. And I actually was asked to be my niece's godfather. So,
wow.
At her baptism.
So you're 6 months sober at this point. You're asked now to be a godfather.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, whoa. Like, this is what, I was like on that pink cloud. I was like, wow, this is what this is about. Now people like, they trust in me, and, just seeing the kid. It was like when I went and seen my niece and nephew, man, it was like a certain type of appreciation that I never had before, man, because I'd always like, I love my nephew to death, and I love my niece and nephew to death. But it was like when I was with them, I was like a shell of a person, and I didn't, like all these emotions like love and stuff like that, I didn't really feel them naturally, It was like just the joy that was inside me, like it was like a new appreciation of life. And that's probably when I've, the first time I really considered myself happy is when I went back home and everyone like seen me, and, got to see my niece and nephew, and that whole baptism was just, it was beautiful, man. I was like, dude, when I first got sober too, man, it was like, dude, I would cry all the time. I used to never cry. The men don't cry, but nah, dude, I first got sober, I was crying. Yeah, I went home and I was like crying in my bed at night because I was like, wow, this is like, this is just, I couldn't even, imagine that, dude. It's like those feelings, they all came back, and like I was able to like be okay with feeling.
I can really relate to that. And for me, it was, I'd put in all this work like yourself. I was going to a program, 12-step program. I was getting, listen, like for me, working with another man, like that's not cool. Like I'm a masculine man. I don't work and share my feelings with other men. Like I share them with girls and hold them hostage, Like that's what I was used to. And then once I built an actual friendship, brotherhood with another man and started sharing my emotions, I started to realize like, that's okay. That's cool. And it started to heal me within. And then I was able to work on myself. And then I built this life of purpose. And then once I got like just a little feeling of that purpose from like, I went and I saw, my nephews and part of the family showing up. I built this life of purpose. And that's all I really needed in life was purpose. And I felt like I had no purpose for a very long time. Right after college, I lived with my parents. Like I was just, I had a good job, but like, I just felt like I had no purpose. And once I started to feel that bridged me to really get inspired to work, to continue with sobriety, because I was given, they call it like gifts of sobriety.
Yeah.
and all of these cool things started happening, which equated to happiness for me, fulfillment. Did you start working with and helping other people in sobriety?
So I went through the 12 steps, you know, fairly quick, maybe like in like 6 months at first. And then afterwards, you know, my sponsor actually got blessed with a job out in the Caribbean doing charter fishing. So I ended up picking up another sponsor and going through the work again with him, you know, better understanding, you know, he has like 37 years sober, I think 38 now. And then right as soon after I went through the work with him, I started sponsoring guys. And actually the funny part about it, dude, it's cool how those 12-step programs, dude, they, you know, it doesn't just stop at like the first step. It's that whole, you know, the whole
process
recipe, dude, the whole process.
Full circle process.
Dude, the whole full circle process is how you stay sober, dude. So funny story, dude. You know, it was my anniversary night and, you know, I speak, you know, get my medallion. And a couple guys after the meeting, you know, they asked me to sponsor them. And I was like, my first sponsor, he was like, yeah, cool. Coincidentally, I was like dating this chick at the time, you know, and like the day that I'm going to go meet with this guy, literally, I just pull up to his house to go read the book with him. She sends me a text talking about how she wants to break up. I'm like, whoa, you know, I just got a year sober. You know, I thought I was on top of the world, dude. Just moved out of sober living, got an apartment, you know, and like was kind of resting on my laurels at that point in time. And this was the first time I was working with another guy. And I remember looking at that message as I'm, you know, reading with him. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, damn, dude, like, you know, this is what they talk about. It's full circle, right? You know, if I wasn't doing this, man, the thought of a drink or drug probably would have been good in my head. And it was like, dude, that's when it was like, ding, 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 ding. This is what this is all about. Giving this back to the next person, dude. So if like, you know, all the rest of these things fail, dude, and you know, I'm working with another guy, helping another guy out, dude, that's going to keep me sober. And it was like, bro, epiphany, bam, spiritual awakening.
Moral of the story, if you're going through some shit and you're in sobriety or even just in life and you're not in sobriety, go help someone else.
Yes, dude. Yes.
I call them esteemable acts. I had low self-esteem and, you know, there are days now that I have low self-esteem. It comes and goes. Anytime that happens, pick up the phone, call a newcomer, someone who's counting days, go do step work with a newcomer, something like that. Those are esteemable acts. And it's crazy because you're a year sober at this point. And in sobriety, you don't see the change happening. You're just taught to put in the work, put in the work, put in the work. And then you look back and you're like, holy shit, look at this change. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's tough work to stay sober. It's not easy. It's not. It's easy getting sober in some cases, but maintaining sobriety is not easy. The road just gets narrower and narrower. But a girl broke up with you and you were so used to picking up that drink or drug and you didn't. And like, that's like, look, that's a miracle, dude.
Dude, it's crazy how that worked. That's like a God, dude. That's when I was like, that's just like one of them God. I was like, bro. I'm like, this couldn't have happened at a better time, dude. Honestly, like, especially looking back on it, I'm like, wow, like it's just, dude, it's so cool, man, you know. But yeah, that would have been my, you know, my first thought that came in my head, dude. And I was like, whoa, like the thought of drinking drugs sounds good right now, but I'm working with this guy and like I can't let him down, you know. I just can't do that, right?
Wow.
And I'm like, you know, boom, it's just I'm giving it back, and then like this through that or whatever, like that helped. And that's when my first sponsors tell me, dude, you're helping me a lot more than I'm helping you. Yeah. I never believed them, dude.
I used to always feel bad. I'm like, oh, sorry, I'm calling you every day. They're like, no, dude, you're fine. You're helping me stay sober. It's totally cool.
But then I got to understand it, like what he was saying. When as soon as that happened, I'm like, dude, this is helping me. And then like that summer, dude, I was going like fucking balls deep, helping guys, sponsoring guys left and right, dude. I mean, a lot of them, you know, they don't stay sober. I mean, you know, it's crazy. The longer you stay sober, the more you realize people just don't stay sober. And that's okay, dude. At the end of the day, it still helps me, man. I don't, you know, it's a success rate if you, you know, put the work in and continue to do it, man. But, you know, it's tough. You know, it is. I get it, dude. Took me, I think the first time I tried to get sober was in like 2020. So it took me 4 years to get a year, you know, it just.
It's crazy the odds of someone being able to get sober.
Yeah.
And then someone, getting a year clean and sober. Like the odds are so bad.
Dude, it is.
But you can do it. If you follow all the suggestions, it's not easy. No. If you follow, I think I just sat on my hands the first 20 days of sobriety and sheer willpower. That will only keep you sober and clean for so long. Yeah. It will only keep 100%. You clean and sober for so long. And then bridging that gap, taking the suggestions, going to a program, getting a sponsor, going to, doing 90 meetings in 90 days, getting a commitment, all of those things across the board. It sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but when you're doing it and you're in it, it's not a lot.
It's really not.
It's not. No. People just get to know you, and I'll never forget this. The first meeting I went to, I got my sponsor, and he was like, "You're going to get a commitment." I'm like, "Fuck, I don't want to get a commitment." Like, what are you talking about? Like, I got to do work at a meeting? Or like, what? And they were like, "You're going to greet." And I'm like, even better. Like, you think I want to fucking greet? Like, I don't want to do this shit. And then someone walked in, this old timer walked in. I introduced myself. Probably had 7 days at the time. I come back the next week. I'm greeting. I have 14 days. The guy comes up to me before I can say hello to him. He's like, "Oh, Kevin, you have 14 days today. I'm so glad you're back." And I that feeling I felt a part of. He knew me. This guy was, had a lot of time in sobriety. He knew my name. And that was the feeling I was chasing for so long, doing drugs and drinking. And it was the most amazing feeling. I just felt like I had a purpose at that meeting and someone knew me. So Tyler, tell us where you're at today.
Where I'm at today? So, dude, I'm telling you, man, life has just gotten tremendous, bro. God has blessed me, man. So my original electrical job that I got when I first got down here, man, it just really wasn't cutting it for me anymore. And I was, through, 12-step program, right? I was able to, meet some guy who owns an electrical company, and dude, he really hooked me up, man. So right now I'm prospering in my career, looking to get a new place soon. And today, dude, I just try to give this thing back, man. I go and speak at rehab facilities. Dude, and it's crazy. I mean, I got a lot of cool stuff from being sober, of course. I mean, that just kind of happens, right? Because I'm not spending money on drugs and drinking, right? But inside, dude, bro, my mind is it's to describe it from how it was, from how it to how it is now, dude. It's bro, complete 180, man. It's dude, I'm just just generally happy, dude, with just life, man. Sometimes anxiety kicks in, but hey, man, I'm able to feel his emotions today, dude, and not want to pick up a drink or drug over it. And yeah, man, I'm working on getting my master electrician license down here, dude. I want to eventually open my own business. That's really the goal. That's always been the goal, dude. It's just a lot of these goals that I had laid out, I just could never hit them because I couldn't, stop drinking and drugging, right? And yeah, man, just have a beautiful life today. My relationship with my family is tremendous. When's this podcast releasing?
Probably 6 weeks from now.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I'm actually this weekend. I'm gonna go meet my sister at Disney World. My nephew just turned 5, and she surprised him with a trip down there. So yeah, I'm about to go meet. Yeah, and he hasn't seen me since Christmas, I don't think. So yeah, I'm gonna pop up and surprise him. Spoil him at Disney World.
That's amazing,
dude. It's just.
You're showing up.
I'm showing up today. I'm able to show up today for my family, for my friends, and I got commitments, for, doing meetings over in treatment centers, commitments, in 12-step program, man, sponsor other men. And my life is just beautiful today. And, next month I'll celebrate 2 years, God willing. And, dude, at this point, it's just I just try to give it back, and there's been points in time in my sobriety too, where it's dude, my head gets so big, man, especially when I first got the new job, man, and I started making a bunch of money, dude. It was ego kicked in, boom.
Yep.
Ego kicked in heavy, man. And, but it's just dude, today I'm grounded, man. That's the thing with this, I just got to do this every day. It's how I used to drink and drug every day, and I'll stay grounded, and I just I won't be, filled with fear every day. I won't be filled with anxiety every day. All these things that used to really bother me just don't no more. Dude, I remember maybe 6 months ago or so, I remember seeing some people arguing on Facebook, and I was like, damn, dude, I haven't did that shit since I got clean, bro. I used to be the king of starting arguments on Facebook and social media and stuff.
Nope.
Dude, I don't even do
no, thank you.
I don't even, bro, nothing, I just go with the flow with life. Things can happen, right? But I know that God got me, man. And it's just dude, because of that, man, it's dude, I'm super chill, and I never used to be chill, dude. Things used to bother me so much. And it's all because of, trying to improve my life with, a 12-step program, getting sober. And dude, my life today is beautiful, man.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler, I appreciate you coming on. Almost congratulations on 2 years. What
Thanks,
day?
Brother.
May what?
May 10th.
May 10th. Awesome.
Yes.
Maybe this episode will drop on that day. We'll see. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Dude, congratulations. That's amazing.
Thanks,
I see what you do in meetings.
Thanks, man.
That's where we met. And you show up. You're a pillar in my home group. And appreciate you coming on.
Of course, brother. Thanks for having me.